Hi, I'm Victoria Ballou, and welcome to Conversations with Creative Minds. This is the very first episode, and I have to admit that this is a personal favorite of mine because today we're going to be speaking with Linnea Dunham of UCI. She and her husband Peter are behind my favorite Oracle deck that I actually use every single day for my own personal use. And they have many other decks that they've created. It's an exciting duo that I thought you would love to learn about because it's not only tarot and oracle, but you'll see she touches on many other things in the book that I'm holding up here that you're looking at. And I'm really, really excited to welcome her to this episode. And I wanted to mention that we are not able to have Linnea on camera today because she lives in the Upper Peninsula of the state of Michigan, and the Zoom quality is not very good. So getting her on camera is a little bit of a challenge. But you know what? We have some other editing techniques that we're going to use to show you some of the work that she writes and that her husband Peter illustrates. So it's still going to be very exciting. And the most exciting of all is to have Linnea actually with us right now on the phone. Hello, Linnea. How are you?
Hi, Victoria. I'm good. Thank you. I feel like I'm talking to you from like the far, far, far woods, which I am. But when you said the Zoom quality, I mean, most of the Upper Peninsula, it's okay. But yeah, we're way in the woods. So,
well, which is fine because the point is that I have you here now to talk about your amazing work, which, as I've already said, your Oracle deck Supra is without a doubt my favorite Oracle deck that I love to use every day. But I wanted to introduce you, have you introduce yourself and your husband to what you have been doing, what you've created, a little bit about yourself, because you have some amazing decks, tarot decks, oracle decks, that have been recognized academically, which is really interesting. So would you give us a little bit of a background about you and your husband, Peter, and how you came into this work?
yeah, I think both of us are artists working in the field of design. Peter he went to school for art. I went to school for journalism, but ended up always wanting to be in art, and meeting Peter after I graduated. I did not graduate. After Peter graduated, we met in Chicago, and we both had so much in common, and I ended up doing an apprenticeship with him, and we started our work together, and became, we then started dating, and then we got married, and we started moving away from fine arts, where that was Peter's primary place, and his creative world sort of circled around that, but it was very, it wasn't, I think it was the business end of that world. He was doing, he was starting to do shows, and the pressures and the business part about it really bothered him, and he kind of withdrew from that. And I was working more in design, and we just started collaborating on some projects that had come our way through just shows that Peter had done or I had been involved in, and through design, we kind of went from physical objects, sculpture, to working with companies like Herman Miller and Design Within Reach. And that was more objects and graphic imagery for headquarters and inspiration use in those companies. And that kind of led us through to companies like Draft, FCD, where we worked on campaigns for Sharpie and Herradura Tequila. We did some, a lot of imagery for these campaigns for products or ads they were creating, and that sort of led us to start our own studio I think in 2010, when we wanted to get away from so much client-based work and start doing our own work, that we could sort of drift more towards our art backgrounds again, instead of so heavily relying on the design and marketing, and the narrative within that field was not, it wasn't where we wanted to stay forever. So we moved back into fine art and had opened our studio as a small design studio that was producing. Actually, I think our first client was Design Within Reach. That was in that studio that we opened, and that was for a small group of little animal sets that we did for them. But it very quickly kind of took another direction when we put a playing card deck on Kickstarter, and that just sort of took off, and we loved working in that format, and we just started getting a name within that realm, and it was a global market. So very quickly, our little web store became a global destination, thanks largely to playing cards. And then in 2014, we decided that we really wanted to move from playing cards to tarot, because we just wanted to immerse more in narrative content. And the tarot was just rich with it, and just with, material that artists have been working with forever. And so that was sort of what drew us into that. And and it's just kind of been amazing ever since then. We just, the first tarot was more of a putting our toes into the water, and then when we figured out sort of how to navigate that format, it was more for format. We moved into a tarot that we'd kind of been working on for a while, which was the Pagan Otherworld tarot, and that one we launched in the fall, I think, of 2015, and it came out in the fall of 2016. So, that was.
And so I know that, and I have read in a previous conversation that we've had before, you mentioned that neither one of you are tarot readers. Is that correct?
We're not. Yeah, we were drawn mostly to the story, the narratives of it, the imagery. So as artists, we were just responding in this intuitive way to the material itself, but we were not readers, no.
Because to me, again, this is imagery that is so rich with, of course, with my super deck is what I'm referring to, but it's imagery that resonates with so many tarot themes without, I think the moon is the only direct correlation to something in a traditional tarot deck, and the rest are not images that would be you'd recognize name-wise in the deck, but each card resonates with, as you say, a narrative, and that, I think, is what drew me immediately to it. But then I realized what else was going on here. I have to say that Peter's artwork is just stunning, and immediately I understood that it was it resonated with the not only Durer. Am I pronouncing it right? Durer, the ink and pen and the ink artist. Yeah, not only was it that, but it resonated with Renaissance drawings. That style that just, I would call it classic for sure, and that, to me, is what drew me further in. But without a doubt, what sealed the deal for me was the book you guys put together, which has your writing in it. And I'm opening the book right now, and what, of course, opens to it is The Secret, and which is the Chartres Labyrinth. And, through our previous conversation, I have told you how connected I am to the Chartres Labyrinth. And
Yeah.
I know, and so that was the starting point, which you said that, and then I have there are these other connections that I want to mention and get your feedback on as well. But when the Chartres Labyrinth was the very first thing that I saw in your book, I knew that this was where I was supposed to be. And you said that Peter came up with the idea of incorporating the labyrinth.
He did, and he had been looking at a lot of megalithic things, and it was part of just a primitive exploration that he was looking at with forms and these burial sites, and then the labyrinth came up as it was Celtic-like, and that sort of made its way into the secret print as the center, because it just was this beautiful, secret in a sense in the center of it that held all this mystery, and the 4 images around it really responded to that so beautifully.
I agree.
The intuition is actually the finger is on the labyrinth, the path. It's the only body that touches the labyrinth in a sense, and I love that. And there's so much in that print that is implicit, and but not it's not. There's a nice mystery to it. It's every time I look at it, I pull something else out of it.
So do I. So that was the very first, and I have to tell you, I was pulling cards as you were talking. The first card that I pulled is Forgotten, which just, of course, resonates with the things that we all intuitively know but have forgotten. And the next card which resonates with me as far as the narrative, that classic narrative that you were drawing from. The next card that I drew was Oracle, believe it or not, which
oh wow,
I know, I love. And then the third card is Synchronicity.
Oh yeah.
So for me, yes, the labyrinth connection. Immediately, I ordered the book, I ordered the deck, and dove into it. And as I became very comfortable and had drawn cards every day, I began realizing how you were using these principles, and you actually, I don't even know if you mentioned, I don't remember specifically if you mentioned Carl Jung, but these are principles of his that are woven throughout it. Certainly, the word synchronicity is something that Carl Jung coined, and I have studied him for a long time. I am a huge fan, and actually that's how I read my tarot, is from that perspective of archetypes and working toward individuation, at living at your highest potential. So when I realized that you were working with those principles, again, I thought, oh my gosh, this is really amazing. So is Carl Jung a big influence with you?
Yes. When we were sort of batting around the idea of an oracle, I had been fascinated by Jung, and I had not delved very deeply into his work, but I had read little bits here and there, and I think when I first, and his work is his professional work is so, in a lot of ways it's written for a medical audience or peers in that field. And it's very dense and beautiful in itself, the thoughts that are behind his work, but it wasn't, I didn't find it to be as expressive. I actually, when I first, it was dense, and I had to keep getting back to it, which is great. My brain loves things like that you really have to process and go back to and try and understand. But I read his autobiography, and the person who he was just lit up. And it just felt so wonderful to know that person. And I just felt that his personality and the way he looked at the world brought all of this other work, that his professional work, home in a way that I needed to have that kind of connection to the human being. And it was where he just was truly wonderfully entertaining. And just his thoughts were so transporting. And it just helped sort of fuel that desire to want to know him better and know his thoughts better. And as we were working on it, I really felt that I was connecting there within his realm of material, but without, connecting to it in a really fresh way, so that I wasn't just putting a deck out that here is the anima and the animus. I mean, there were many cards within that oracle that really weren't exactly Jung's, but they were part of what Jung was expressing.
I agree with you 100%. And that leads me to my next observation and question for you, which is, in this book, and for any of you watching, if you have this book, you probably know what I am referring to here. Linnea, you choose your words so carefully, and as a writer myself, I appreciate that. I admire the way that every word looks like it was so thoughtfully chosen, and yet it feels effortless in the way that each card description comes together, that it's a remarkable achievement. And I'm just wondering, did you labor over using such precise words that were so, it to me felt so carefully chosen? Did it just flow out, or did you have to write and rewrite? How did this happen?
Well, it did not. I mostly wanted to make it sort of poetic, and I'm not a big fan of guidebooks per se. For this kind of content, so a spiritual guidebook to me can get a little confining, and I felt that I wanted to follow things like a lot of Asian writing I've read has been more poetic than it has been spelling it out. The Golden Flower, and I will maul this name because I'm terrible with pronunciation for being so specific with my words. The I think, and that was actually something that Jung used a lot. And he was very playful with it. And I thought that was so amazing that he actually was playful and confident enough to bring an oracle into his practice. And so I sort of, inspired by that, I wanted to create something that had that feel to it and not be so specific in the sense that now when you're looking at this card, here's what you're supposed to, this card means this, and if it's in this realm, or the signs are. I just wanted to make it less of a rule book and more expansive.
And you did. I love this so much. And then there is the element of dreams that comes into play, because you introduce you use the metaphor of dreams, and then you speak of dreams literally in some of the card descriptions, which for me, again, as being a dream interpreter, it blew me away when I realized that there were so many aspects of what I do with clients, with tarot and with dream interpretation, that the importance is what I really am wanting to say. The importance of recognizing dreaming, your dreams, not only from how you want to move forward in life, which is what you mention in this super deck, but also how it connects to your past, how it connects to the collective unconscious, another Carl Jung term, of us as the greater whole, the whole community of all of us who dream. And I realized how essential this was to come through in these cards. And so was that a conscious effort on your part to bring that out because of your study of Jung also?
Yeah, and I don't know if I would call it a study of Jung. I was just sort of drifting through Jung in a dreamlike state. And I think because of that, I was connecting to a lot of the, I think the secret print is such a great touch point for us, and it's interesting that that's where you really connected with this deck, because the secret was from, and I can't remember what the book was, but I think it was The Golden Flower, and it was the secret. The secret of the secret has a deeper. Now I'm mauling this. It was something about the secret having a deeper secret within, and I felt like that was Jung's world. And that is our dream world. Inside our dreams is a deeper dream, and it just is so connective with our world and everything and everyone in it. And that deeper dream is those are our roots that are foundational for us. But they are not, in a very modern world that we're in that moves very, very fast, we're not connected to them as we used to be. And we're moving so fast that there's an Indian phrase or thought that if you move too fast, your soul has a hard time catching up to you, finding you in the world. And if you travel too far. And I think that's sort of how I feel about the world right now. Our soul, we've moved so fast that our souls are having a hard time with this kind of machine-like speed we're working at. And we have to be a little more sensitive to that. And that was all those thoughts and feelings came through with the words and the ideas that we brought into Supra.
I resonate with that thought as well. I love technology. I love what we're doing right now. And it is only by technology that I'm able to talk to you and to create this and to share this. So I am absolutely in favor of it. But I also think that, we move so fast that we move away from, as you were saying so perfectly, the deeper dream that we are all dreaming and need to stay connected with. Moving beyond the Supra deck, I wanted to just touch on the other decks that you've done, because you have at least 2 decks, don't you, that have been put into the library of, is it MIT?
Yeah, MIT. They found us a couple of years ago, 3 years ago now, and they were working in their library. The head librarian of their distinctive collections she was teaching the tarot when she was at Harvard, and she brought it into the class just to bring a creative element to people's thought process in their writing, and then she brought that to MIT with her that fascination for that object, and she wanted that in their collection because it is also this container for all these archetypes in our world, our humanity. And it was interesting because it was also sort of melding with the artificial intelligence program that is always on their agenda. And I don't know, we didn't really get too far into how that was being used, but it was interesting to us that they were looking and exploring this object as as a key to the orderly way we are, the way we create order in our world, but yet also how we're creating that order from chaos and deep mystery. And, these are things that hopefully no machine will ever figure out.
I agree.
But, yeah, although who knows? But yeah, it was something that they wanted to just have in their collection. And
I think it's just amazing. And which deck or decks do they have in their collection?
well, they have a very big tarot collection of a lot of people's decks. But from the ones they chose from us were they actually picked up our entire catalog. So Eros, Materia Prima, Supra, Pagan. Yeah, those are the ones they have.
That's to me that makes me feel so good that it's accepted from an academic standpoint, because people approach tarot in all sorts of different ways. I know that I think it's all unique. I think we're all like snowflakes in that we're all unique in the way that we do it. Mine is very much I call it practical metaphysics, because I have one foot in the real scientific world of feeling like I'm working with ancient science here. But then the other foot is in that metaphysical realm where I realize that everything is energy, and that moving in those realms is scientific, even though it hasn't really been connected in that way. And so for someplace like MIT to have this in their collection and understand the value of tarot when they are such a science-based place, that I feel very, I feel like we're moving in that direction of making that really, I think it's going to be a simple connection when it's all said and done.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think there's so many dimensions to spiritual objects like the tarot that they are exploring, and not only just the content, but the beauty of an object like that brings harmony to our world.
It is beautiful.
That it has all these dimensions that they're pulling from, and there's a feeling to that is coherent, and it totally makes sense that science at this moment in time would say, I think we need to start putting our souls back into the world. Yes. I think this is time for us to start looking at the problems and the situations and our creativity with our souls.
So, Linnea, do you guys work strictly from what inspires you as far as what you're going for next in your projects, or do you work from a place that you're kind of understanding what your feedback from customers, from clients are? Do you, or is it a synthesis of both?
I think it's all of those things. You just feel it as you're steering the wheel of these creative things that, move out into the world. We have people that are emailing us all the time, responding to the work, and you start having these conversations, and it leads from one thing to the next. But at the core of it, we're always feeling that we're looking for that essential thing in the next inspiration. And a lot of what we've been feeling through, and it doesn't always come from something, like some vision. It's just your life as it moves along. And what we've been feeling a lot lately is just how strange it is that a lot of these objects that we've made have this journey they've taken throughout the world, from the way they've been made to and where they're made, how they come to us, and then they move on to all different parts of the world. And that journey in and of itself is very interesting to us. And it has a story, a narrative attached to every part of it. And I feel like there are these things that we're looking at now that that are sort of addressing these essential narratives of a journey from our decks are printed in Taiwan, and there is a whole culture in Taiwan that and a working culture of craft that is beautiful. And then from there, it moves across the sea to us, and that object then moves to other people, and with all their own history that they're bringing to it and exploring. And so it sort of got us thinking of just craft and how it is brought into the world. And so this next piece that we're working on is basically, it's going to be an oversized tarot to start with the major arcana. And it's more about craft. So the journey, it'll eventually, the journey always starts here for us with creating the artwork. But and then you think about how it's going to be made and if it's going to be reproduced. And that is taken into how its next step of its artistic journey. And with the prints, with the oversized tarot, we really wanted to keep most of the journey here and have this process be fulfilled within our home, within our country, and just explore in a more studio way instead of so much in production with a large printer.
Yes, well,
and that's really hands-on.
I cannot wait to see this. And so are there original pieces that Peter draws that you guys hang in your house or in galleries or something, and then you make prints from those?
We don't hang any of our artwork. We have it all in archives, in boxes. Every once in a while we'll pull one out, but right now we don't have any artwork hanging up in our house. A lot of that is, we went from a studio environment in Chicago that was all white walls, and we did have a lot of artwork up. Not a lot of our own, but we did have a lot of art. And then we came out here, and all my walls are wood. And, and there are so many windows in this house that our artwork is looking out the window at this beautiful natural world we're in. And so we went to gallery shows, we went to museums when we were in the city, and that was so much of our life. And then our life hasn't really, that hasn't been a big part, galleries and museums in this next chapter, which is, just surrounded by nature. And so we don't hang any of our, and even in Chicago when we were in the studio, we really didn't hang our own work. And I don't know why. I think a lot of artist studios I went to, they had their art out. I think we just, when we were making more fine art, it was on the wall. But with this work, we're moving into another project often. So we don't want the older work around. We start anew, and then we have mood boards. That is what we do have in the studio. I'm obsessive with creating mood boards, and that is something that informs our artistic process a lot.
Wow!
But not our own work. We don't. We don't keep it up.
Well, we love your artistic process, and I'm using the royal we here because anyone who has ever seen your work, worked with your cards, I am sure that I speak for them when I say that we really love not only the outstanding, stunning artwork, but your words as well. And I want to thank you for joining us today because this was really special for me. Your work, and Peter's work has really touched me in a way that I work with every single day. And I am thrilled to introduce your work to anyone who hasn't seen it before. So that is very thrilling for me today to have you on as a guest. So thank you.
Well, it's thrilling to hear that and to hear that it's part of your practice. It just breathes life into this for us that is so, we're so honored. So we just feel so blessed. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Linnea. Thank you so much. And we will have your website up with all of the information if anybody wants to contact you. And I highly recommend going to take a look at their site because there are so many decks, and as you have just heard, decks to come that are going to just be amazing, and they all resonate with this energy of not only individual, but community as well. And it is fabulous. Thanks so much, Linnea.
Thank you so much, Victoria.